Welcome to Audiobook 365 Stories.
Everyone in the town of Viziers, Larithel, came to say goodbye to M. Badon Laraments at his funeral. The speaker said he was an honest man. M. Badon Laraments was always honest in everything he did. He spoke good words and set good examples. He helped people and gave advice. He had 2 children, a son and a daughter. His son was important in the town, and his daughter married a lawyer named M. Porel de la Volte. They loved their father very much and were very sad when he died. After the funeral, the children and son-in-law went home. They sat down and opened their father's will. It had a special letter inside. M. Porel opened it and read it to them. The letter said, "My dear children, I cannot rest in peace without telling you about a crime I did long ago. It has ruined my life. Many times, when everything was quiet, I felt nervous and scared. I would start talking to myself just to hear some sound. My own voice scared me because it felt strange. Talking to yourself in an empty house is scary. It feels like someone else is talking, even though you know it's you. I had a girlfriend. She was a young girl living in Paris. She was kind and simple. Her parents lived in another town, and sometimes she visited them. We lived together for a year. I planned to leave her when I found someone I wanted to marry. I thought I would give her some money before leaving because, in our group, we believed a woman's love should be rewarded, either with money or gifts. One day, she told me she was going to have a baby. I was shocked. I knew my life would change forever. I would be tied to her because of the child. I would have to care for the baby but stay a secret. I felt very upset and afraid. A bad thought came to my mind. I didn't say it out loud, but I felt it in my heart. I wish something bad would happen to stop this. Many babies die before they are born. Oh, I didn't want my girlfriend to die. I loved her very much, but maybe I wish the baby would not live before I saw it. The baby was born. I lived in my small apartment with the baby, but I didn't love him. He was like any other baby, and I didn't care much. Fathers don't love their children right away. They learn to love them over time by being with them every day. Mothers, however, love their babies from the start. A year went by. I didn't like being at home. The apartment was messy with baby clothes everywhere. The baby cried all the time. When he was touched, bathed, or put to bed, I couldn't stand the crying, so I stayed out a lot. Then I met the woman who would become your mother. I fell in love with her and wanted to marry her. I asked her parents, and they agreed. But I had a problem. I wanted to marry this woman, but I already had a child. If I told her the truth, her parents would never let her marry me. I would lose my chance at happiness. I spent a whole month feeling terrible, scared, and worried. I began to hate my son, that small, crying baby, because he stopped me from living the life I wanted. I had no hope, no dreams, and it made me angry. One day, my girlfriend's mother got sick, so I was left alone with the baby. It was December, and the weather was very cold. What a night! My girlfriend had just left. I ate dinner alone, and then I quietly went to the room where the baby was sleeping. I sat in a chair near the fire. The wind was loud and cold, making the windows shake. Through the window, I could see the stars shining brightly in the cold sky. Then, the bad idea I had been thinking about for a month came back. As soon as I sat quietly, it filled my mind. It was like a strong feeling that I couldn't stop. It was in my head, in my heart, and in my whole body. I felt like I was being eaten up by this idea, like it was a wild animal inside me. I tried to think of other things, to push it away, but I couldn't. It was stuck in my mind, and I couldn't escape it, even for a second. The pain was terrible. It hurt my soul and my body. My life was a mess. How could I fix this? How could I tell the truth? I loved the woman who would be your mother so much, but this problem made everything worse. I felt very angry, so angry that I thought I was losing my mind. Maybe I was not thinking clearly that night. The baby was sleeping. I got up and looked at him. It was him, this small, helpless baby, that made me feel so trapped and unhappy. He was asleep, with his mouth open, wrapped in blankets in a crib next to my bed, where I could not sleep. How did I do what I did? I don't know. What made me do it? What bad feeling took over me? Oh, the bad thought came so fast. All I remember is that my heart was beating loudly, like a hammer. That's all I can remember. My heart beating. My mind was a mess, full of confusing thoughts. I wasn't in control of myself. It was one of those moments when you don't know what you're doing. I slowly pulled the blankets off the baby. I moved them down to the end of the crib, and he was lying there, uncovered. He did not wake up. Then I walked quietly to the window and opened it very slowly. Cold air came into the room, like something dangerous. It was so cold that I moved back. The two candles shook. I stood by the window, scared to look behind me. The cold air touched my face, my hands, and my head. I stood there for a long time. I was not thinking. Suddenly, I heard a small cough, and it made me shake all over. I quickly closed the window and ran to the crib. The baby was still asleep, his mouth open. He was not covered, and his legs were very cold. I covered him with the blanket. My heart suddenly changed. I felt sad and sorry for this little baby. I wanted to protect him. I kissed his soft hair, holding him close. Then I sat by the fire. I thought about what I had done. I couldn't believe it. How could I lose control of myself like that? How could I forget everything and almost do something so terrible? The baby coughed again, and it scared me. What if he died? Oh no, what would I do? I stood up and went to check on him. I took a candle and leaned over to see if he was okay. He was breathing. I felt better. But then he coughed again, and I was so shocked that I stepped back and dropped the candle. I picked up the candle and stood up. I felt sweat on my head, cold from fear. I stayed by my son's bed until morning, feeling better when he was quiet, but scared when he coughed. He woke up with red eyes, a sore throat, and looked like he was in pain. When the woman came to clean the room, I asked her to call the doctor. He came after an hour. After checking my son, he asked, "Did he catch a cold?" I started shaking and said, "No, I don't think so." I asked, "Is it serious?" He answered, "I'm not sure yet. I'll come back tonight." The doctor came back, but my son slept most of the day and coughed sometimes. That night, he got very sick with a lung infection. It lasted for 10 days. I can't explain how much pain I felt every hour. He died. Since then, I haven't had 1 hour without the painful memory burning in my mind. It hurts like a wild animal inside me. Oh, if only I could forget. M. Poirel de la Volte lifted his glasses, as he always did after reading. The three people in the room looked at each other, pale and quiet. After a minute, the lawyer said, "This must be destroyed." The others nodded. He lit a candle, tore out the pages with the sad confession, and burned them in the fireplace. They watched the paper burn until it was black ashes. Some words were still visible, so the daughter used her shoe to crush the paper into the ashes. They stood there for a while, making sure the secret stayed in the fireplace.